Good morning.
It's a wonderful Wednesday.
It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
Yes, it sure is. I'm Kim Spillers.
And I'm Frank Spillers.
And we are Rural Community Solutions based out of Atlantic, Iowa, designing family-friendly, youth-centered places. So if that interests you, you're in exactly the right spot. This is Cece. Just have to introduce Cece every broadcast. She is our mascot, our Wuka raccoon, who helps us welcome, understand, comfort, and appreciate ourselves and others. So she keeps us on track and sits here. So she says, good morning. And there she goes. And we are ready to take off on week 7 of Entrepreneurship Month.
Hey, and we want to welcome you to Rural Community Solutions live stream. It's our TV show from YouTube. Whether you're joining us on YouTube or our Facebook page at Rural Community Solutions, comment in the section, tell us hi, tell us what you love about what you're hearing. We'd love to hear from you anytime. So if you're listening to us live on Wednesday, the 16th of September, Already, yeah, I couldn't believe that was already happening. Yep. Or if you're listening to us on the replay when you just found us on YouTube, or I posted it on our Facebook page, just comment, say hello, tell us where you're from, tell us what you like about the program, and also what you would suggest we might do differently. You know, we even like haters. Yeah, but that's okay.
And if you have topics that you need some help with, we'd love to hear from you as well for that and see whether or not we can throw some ideas your way and help you get to design a family-friendly, youth-centered place where you live.
And so as we go on, this is week 7 of our series of the Rural Community Solutions TV episode number, I don't know what it is, but anyway, it'd be about 33, I think, because we're Monday through Friday, and hey, we even went Labor Day, so yeah, so it would be, because see, I did that math really quick in my head.
Yeah, well. So
see
this week,
I can do that too. So this week is all about vision. What does that have to do with entrepreneurship? Because if you don't have a vision, if you don't know where you're going, you don't know if you got to where you want to be. You just get someplace. So it's better that you do have that vision. And that vision is a picture of the future you wish to create. And so that's what we look at Rural Community Solutions. And we support your community through 4 pillars. I'll call our Rural Community Solutions prosperity pillars. And that is with relationships of the atmosphere of how you create your community, that entrepreneurs can grow and your community can grow and attract people, and not just assets that you want, but your people. And we do it through relationships and engagement of how people feel valued, how people's opinions are taken seriously, and they understand and they feel that they have been heard. Because listening is an action. And do you really wait to listen, or do you just wait to talk and respond and to give your own ideas? That's engagement. And then we have collaboration. And collaboration means to use the folks and use their talents and abilities that they have in a specific way that collaborates with other talents and abilities to move towards a common collaborative vision within your community. And all of that supports entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship has that 4th pillar, and an important part of that pillar is creating your economy where it wants to go. And so when you start to use those 4 pillars, you build that entrepreneurial economy. That's what Rural Community Solutions is all about. And as Kim said, it's designing family-friendly, youth-centered places with you as a community in mind that attract people. It attracts entrepreneurs. It attracts home-based businesses, and it attracts a teleworkforce, because the teleworkforce is where things are going. And so that's our solutions to building rural America. How do we keep that up? Keep that up.
Well, we do. We want to keep that up. We want to keep growing and supporting rural America.
Because that's important. Rural America is extremely, extremely important in supplying the goods towards America. And as I said yesterday, that we have probably more people working in their basements and in their garage on the next big thing, specifically during this pandemic when folks are at home. There's more side businesses that are being started up. There's more people looking for alternative sources of income and getting that second stream of income, because relying on the job, relying just on employment, you are really putting your faith in somebody else that will keep you on and keep a paycheck coming to you. So why don't you turn that around and get that second stream of income, find your passion, and let's start building upon that you can then start to offset some of those costs, and maybe, just maybe, be lucky enough that you have found your passion, you have found the way, you have found a solution to a problem that people are willing to pay for and pay you for, that's going to let you let go of your day job, the employment, the hourly wage, the grind of what you look at. And I call it a grind because that's how I view it. And then you can start doing your passion every day. Then it doesn't seem like work. Then you wake up in the morning, you get to go and you get to do what you want to do. And that is what we're all about, is how do entrepreneurs think? And as your community, we work with how does a community understand how an entrepreneur thinks? Because as a community, you want to support that infrastructure. You want to support the ecosystem of building entrepreneurs, that you can build that entrepreneurial economy. And that's where everything is starting to point from. So this is Wednesday. And we consider Wednesday
Story Day.
Story Day.
It's Story Day.
So I get the book out.
We really like stories because they illustrate lots of wonderful points in our lives. So we have a couple of really good stories today to illustrate why entrepreneurship is important and why it's really super important for a community to be supportive of entrepreneurs and support those businesses, support those ideas, and be really concrete and be very intentional to keep your economy really strong in your area.
You know, we talk this week about vision. And vision, in our definition, we use Peter Senge's vision from the fifth discipline. And that definition is a picture of the future you wish to create. That is a clear picture of the future you wish to create. What does it look like? What does it smell? What do you feel? What's going through your five senses? What do you hear about that? And how do you feel about getting to where you want to go? It's that emotion in there. And that vision it needs to be clear and it needs to be communicated, but the clarity of that vision can only be told in a story that was told to me by a contractor that once built a house for a blind lady. Now, this lady was completely 100% blind, but she was moving into a new house and having this contractor build her a brand new house. And this lady then was counting on the contractor, and the contractor then would go through that house and build it, and really thought he built a great house. I mean, he was really proud of this, and it was a great house. He was really proud of it, and he thought, boy, I really outdid myself this time. And the contractor went on to tell me, he said, you know, Frank, he said, I thought I did this great job. And then we did our final walkthrough with the owner, with the blind person of the owner. And he said, she walked through the house and she pointed out about 3 different flaws throughout the house. And those were flaws that I couldn't see. Those were things that I really wasn't aware of, okay, of that. But she found them. And that could only be because of the clarity of vision that she had of the finished product. She knew exactly what her house should look like. And she knew exactly of what it was and where should things be and how should they be. And when they weren't, they were out of place because of her vision. She pointed out the flaws to the contractor. He fixed them, and her house was perfect.
I think that's a really great illustration also of sensuality, of senses, like we talked about yesterday and gave the exercise to people who were listening about, you know, use your senses in your vision. What are you feeling, tasting, touching, seeing, and smelling? And she didn't have her vision. She didn't have her sight. She had the vision in her head, but she literally couldn't see it. So she was experiencing her house using all the rest of her senses. And that's why we use that exercise. That story illustrates it perfectly, why that is such an important set of, I guess, exercises to go through. Use your senses because we experience life in that way. So great story.
It is.
He wanted to buy that house too, didn't he? If she didn't want it, he wanted it. He was in such good shape. But he fixed that house for her, and she got the house of her vision.
And I just got a text message. We might have been a little bit hacked here because there was something going on. We're aware that something was going on, some foreign words going through or something like that. But we hope it's working now. Just give us a heads up in the comment section or give me a text to see if it's working now. I see that it is. So we hope that this version is going through. We'll check it back. If we have to re-record, we'll have to re-record. But okay, onward.
Thank you for that heads up because we aren't seeing anything, so we appreciate that.
And I think I'm talking regular. I mean, I don't know. Okay.
So we have story number 2. This is another great story, and this talks about the importance of community. So we'll share that in just a couple of minutes.
You know, with vision, it's important that a community have that, but it's also important that the community have the infrastructure to what is important with that community and what we can see. Because with that community of how that community thinks and how you think within that community to support rural entrepreneurship, it's called the ecosystem. And that entrepreneurial ecosystem is the structure throughout your community that helps support and build that environment for entrepreneurs. We're going to be digging a little bit more into that tomorrow with our interview with Don Mackey.
He's going to be back.
And we'll talk about the benefits and what type of community can build an entrepreneurial ecosystem and what is all that entailed. And so this is something you won't want to miss. You want to come back and you'll want to save this episode because there's some rich material in there that will help you as a community member and as a collaborative leader really start to build your community, because you want your community to vision, but you want to recognize an opportunity when it is right in front of you. And we have always said, or we have sometimes said, mostly said, that communities don't grow because of the term, we've always done it this way before.
Have you heard that in your community?
Right.
Or your church?
And so doing this really can hamper. So I'm going to show you, this is the intersection of a town in Chapel, Nebraska. Chapel, Nebraska is in the southern territory of the Nebraska Panhandle. And it's just a little bit above the Colorado border, and it's a town of maybe 1,000 people, 1,200 people. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to check that population, but it's a town, and this is the intersection. Now, why is this intersection really important? Is because have you ever heard of Cabela's? Jim Cabela and his brother were born and raised in Chapel, Nebraska.
And you may not be able to see it, but on the upper left-hand corner, you can see on the elevator, it says Chapel up above there.
Right there.
Yep.
Right there in the upper left-hand corner. That's on the elevators. And in Chapel, it then is a Chapel. Let me start again here.
It's a big story.
Chapel, Nebraska is where Jim and his brother grew up, and the Cabela brothers built their business upon an idea that they tie fishing flies. And so they sat at their kitchen table and they were tying fishing flies, and they looked at each other and said, we can sell these. And so in an outdoor magazine, they put an ad in this outdoor magazine in the back, and they said fishing flies free, shipping and handling $2. And so they then didn't sell anything. They didn't get a word. They didn't get any bites off of their fishing flies. Okay, so what they did then the next month, they turned the ad around. They said fishing flies, $2, shipping and handling free. And the rest is history. That's how Cabela's started. So they were tying the fishing flies. And this is also another example of people buy value. And if you don't put a value on something, then people won't value it themselves. So you have to value yourself. You have to value the item that you are selling in order for people to understand that that item does have value. So having the free item with just paying the shipping, that doesn't get people to move because they don't think that item then has the value. They just think you're going to cover your costs on shipping out something of no value. And so when they turned that around, they said, oh, the item has value, and look, they're giving it to me for free shipping. There's a different psychology in there and a different element of how people think and how different marketing can work of how your product can take off. So that's lesson number one here. But Jim and his brother were growing. They outgrew their kitchen table, and they went to the garage, or went to the basement. They outgrew the basement. They went to the garage. And they outgrew their garage because business was booming. And they went down to their city fathers, their city council, and they said, we're looking for a building. Will this community help us get into a building? Now, this is typical economic development 101.
And this was decades ago.
And so I think it was in the 50s is when the Cabela's started. So, 50 some years ago. And the city fathers looked at them. Now, typical economic development, right? Okay, so let's help you find a building. So they might have helped find a building. And the Cabela brothers said, can you help us, with the rent? Can you help us get into it? And the city fathers looked at him and said, well, nobody helped me get into business. Why should we help you? And because it was at city council, of course, the newspaper published what happened at the city council meeting. And if you notice then in this picture, in the lower right-hand corner, you see a sign that says Sidney 29 miles. So Sidney, Nebraska is 29 miles to the west of Chapel on I-80. And so in the newspaper of Chapel, they reported that, well, some business people, a guy, one person over in Sydney got a hold of that newspaper article, went over to Chapel, knocked on the Cabela door of their home and said, we understand you're looking for a building. We have some buildings in Sydney. Maybe we can help you. Why don't you come with us and let's go take a look? All right. And so they did. And what happened is this. This is the intersection in Sydney, Nebraska. 29 miles from Chapel, where the Cabela brothers are from, grew up, went to school, became neighbors, knew their families, knew everybody in town, but the town would not help them. So Sydney helped them. And this is what happened to an entrepreneurial idea as it grew, because one town looked at the local person and said, why should we help you? That's not an entrepreneurial ecosystem. Now, this happened then, and this is 50 some years of growth. Now, here's the epilogue of this story is, yes, Sydney has really prospered. The opening of this store in the top right-hand corner, okay, that is their very first large scale super mega Cabela's outdoor store that was opened in the early 90s when I was working in Western Nebraska. And that opened, one side note on this is how rural America works. On the day that opened, they had an airplane. Some people came, I don't know where they flew in from, but it's a little Cessna. They flew in, they landed on the property in Sydney, on that interstate property. They landed right there in front of the Cabela building, walked in, participated in the grand opening, and then got in their airplane and flew off again. They just landed right there because they could. There was enough property there. It was
a cool part of the story.
It was kind of comical, but that's rural America, right? That's how we can. Don't tell the FAA that, but okay. That was a long time ago, guys. I have no clue. That was a long time ago. Yeah. Anyway, so in this realm here, because it was a successful business, they built it. You know, the town of Sydney kind of got complacent a little bit, that we have this community and we have this big business that we helped grow up, and it's our core business. I mean, because Cabela's even had their call center in an old Army depot, an old Army ammunition depot on the north side of town. And they had their own UPS station, and they grew, and all of the transportation, all the logistics of the infrastructure was there. And it the city kind of got a little bit complacent. Now, and then in 2019, in the middle of 2019, in March, Bass Pro bought the Cabela's. They bought Cabela's. So then Bass Pro merged with Cabela's. And in March of 2019, Bass Pro announced that they were moving 2,000 employees out of Sydney to their headquarters in Missouri, I think, is where they are. But this down here in the bottom left-hand corner was the world headquarters for Cabela's operation, just being built. When we took this picture, heading out to a workshop that we were doing in Wyoming, when we took this picture, this portion, the western portion of this, wasn't even completed. This was all still under construction. So this was just being built, and that would have been in 2018 when we took this picture.
Was that about the time that the announcement from Bass Pro came? It seems to me that we took these pictures right about the time that announcement came.
Right after, yeah. The announcement came right after I think we took it.
Yeah.
The timing was pretty close on there.
So on the top of the water tower here, you can see Cabela's if the picture is a little bit bigger. But just to give you an idea of what that campus looks like and the investment in the infrastructure that went into one large business.
And you can see the parking lot, and you can see this. If you want a copy of this picture, we'll be happy to share it with you. But the idea behind this is that when Bass Pro bought out Cabela's, they actually moved 2,000 jobs out of Sydney. Now, Sydney is a community of about 10,000 people, give or take. All right, I haven't checked the population there. But they just moved 2,000 people, or 2,000 jobs. Now, whether the people moved out or not, that was kind of up to them. But Bass Pro moved those jobs. Now, did Sydney keep up with the entrepreneurial ecosystem? That is really left a question to be answered. And there's a couple of different versions of the information that I have researched. Yes, they have. No, they haven't. And the economy is left and yet to be decided. When you move, because at the end of last year, 2019, that really hit. That is really the process, because they're still moving some of those jobs out of there. So they have this huge complex here that could be empty, that is not being utilized. Now, this town in a rural area then is left with this huge complex because they did not keep up with an entrepreneurial ecosystem. They did not build in that culture as they started when they went over and they found Cabela's of an entrepreneur to build up that business. They did not keep up that culture of how do we continue, how do we keep an entrepreneurial ecosystem going, and how do we build that culture that we are in constant lookout for the next big thing internally. Remember, 98% of new jobs, 98% of your new jobs come from your existing businesses or new business, and new business startups. It doesn't come from outside recruitment activities. 98% of your jobs are going to come from internal growth, whether it's an idea for entrepreneurship or whether it is now a new business or a business that's established there that's ready to expand. You have to be prepared, and you have to look at that culture, and you have to know how to foster that environment that's going to build those businesses and create that environment where people can take that risk. it's a safety net that you have to build.
So several things that we've learned today through these illustrations, through these stories. That's why we love them so much. We're going to loop back to the lady with the vision. Does your community have a vision? And what kinds of components, does that vision have? You know, the story of Sydney illustrates the couple of things. The story of Chapel illustrates, are you believing? Are you having faith? Are you giving some credence and credibility to people who have ideas in your town? Are you thinking about whether or not they actually can be that next big thing that we've been talking about? So the flip side of that, one is to believe in them, but you also have to figure out as a community, what risks are you willing to take when you put your eggs in one basket, so to speak. So you have those are some of the community issues that need to be that level of security. What do you want your community to be like, and how balanced do you want it to be, and how are you going to go about developing those different ventures so that your community is as stable as possible? Losing 2,000 jobs, if you live in a community like we do, who has periodically lost hundreds of jobs when a business came in, did great for a few years, ran out their tax incentives and pulled out and went someplace else, how disruptive that is to a community, how sad and how scary that is. So building community equity, building community security as much as you can into your community vision is a really important part. So that vision that the lady had when she was building her house and all of those different details, that's what we need to do as community members, as community leaders. Look at all those details to make sure that we have a really crystal clear vision about how that might be playing out. So vision, believe in your people, think about the risks, and balance your portfolio so that your community is as stable as possible. Those are just some of the components that the stories from today illustrate related to vision and entrepreneurship.
And so if you're an economic developer out there, you want to then start doing, how do we train and how do we build an environment of empowerment rather than how do I just create assets or recruit assets? I mean, that's the collaborative leader will work with people to build empowerment. They will build people and build their talents to have that person become what they want to become, and have the support network out there to help build them up. And I had a whole different thought process, but what I do want to say is that when you invest in entrepreneurship in your community, with 98% of those jobs that are created because of existing businesses or new business startups, and the combination of those, you're investing with the people that already live in your community. So they are grounded. They have a stake in that community. They are vested in that community, and they want to grow. They're not looking to move. They're looking to grow their business within that community. And so that's where your investment, that's where your time should be focused. So come on back tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time. We're going to be talking with Don Mackey. Don is the Vice President of Entrepreneurial Ecosystems. And we're going to be talking about the subject. It'll be his third interview this month. The subject is, what type of community should build an entrepreneurial ecosystem? And he's just is now releasing the story of a town that he has worked with for more than 20 years. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that, what that town had to do to reinvest itself and to reinvent itself, and the time frame. The time frame is important here because it's that investment in the long term, that it doesn't happen overnight. So come on back, 11:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time tomorrow at Rural Community Solutions TV. Make sure, if you're on our YouTube channel, hit your subscribe button. Give us a comment below, or go to Rural Community Solutions Facebook page, and you can catch each and every episode as we go live Monday through Friday here at Rural Community Solutions TV live stream.
So I'm Kim Spillers.
And I'm Frank Spillers.
And Cece. And we wish you a wonderful Wednesday. Thanks so much for joining us. If we can help you, just give us an email. We'd appreciate hearing from you and love to help.
We'll talk to you later. See you tomorrow.
Take care. Bye.